So one thing I've learned about my viewers here, that's you, is that you guys often like stories. And so I wanted to put together some stories of signs from the universe. Stories in my life where I was presented with signs and I followed them and got where I wanted to be. And so for my next 3 videos, yes, I'm actually planning my content. This never happens. But for the next 3 videos, I'm going to be discussing some of these stories from my personal life as they relate to following the signs from the universe. And if you have any questions about following the signs, make sure to drop them below in the comments so that I'm able to better explain how you follow the signs of the universe to you. And of course, my name is Andrea Schulman. I create law of attraction content both here and on my website, raiseyourvibrationtoday.com. And let's go ahead and jump on into story number 1. Story number 1 for me, personally, is the most amazing because it is the story of how the signs led me to manifesting a withdrawal-free recovery from opiate addiction. In other words, going from being the kind of person that if she didn't have her drugs, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, had stomach problems, felt like she had the flu, was in a horrible, horrible state of withdrawal, to literally being able to get off of drugs overnight with no withdrawal at all. And if you've never really done drugs, that may not seem very significant to you, but to me it was so significant because for almost 2 decades, I was chained to opiates and opiate-like type substances. And I would go through these cycles where I'd white knuckle it, I'd get off, and then I would relapse. And I never knew when the relapse was gonna come. Maybe it would come like in a week, in a month, maybe I'd get a year, but inevitably I'd get back on the train. And every time I got off, I had this horrible, horrible withdrawal. I mean, it is literally living through hell trying to get off of opiates. That's why, as a side note, a lot of times we're really critical of drug addicts. Like, why don't they just get it together? Why don't they just stop? Stopping's not easy. Stopping can be really, really challenging. And so I was really kind of at a point in 2016 where I was just defeated. I mean, I had gone through the ringer with this over and over and over again. And I really wanted to get sober. I have a family, I have a job, I've got a career, I've got things to do, I want to be healthy. But I can't do this anymore, universe. I just can't do this. Get off the drugs and go through these withdrawal periods that sometimes would last, up to a month or even longer. And so the signs from the universe really came in at that point and helped me out. So in 2016, I had kind of this breakdown where I just realized I couldn't do this on my own. And I kept having the same experience over and over and over again, which, by the way, law of attraction thing, right? And I realized that I needed to surrender that desire to the universe and allow myself to be led. And so that's something I would really recommend. If there's something that you want, stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to think you know how to do it. Because what I thought I knew how to do wasn't working. I kept trying to get myself off. I had all these different plans, these different methods, and they just weren't working. I finally had to surrender it and say, you know what? I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You've got the answer. Please, lead me to it. I'm gonna wait on you because I don't know what to do. And a really funny thing happened. A couple days later, and I mean that, like 48 hours later, I'm going through my phone and I'm looking through my email and I see some email from a newsletter I subscribe to that mentions in the subject line that there's this withdrawal-free opiate addiction recovery that works. And I open it up and I read about it, and it's this substance called ibogaine, which you may or may not have heard of before. But ibogaine is like a plant. It's like plant medicine. So for those of you who are familiar with ayahuasca, is not the same as ayahuasca, okay? It's not the same as ayahuasca, but same kind of idea, a plant medicine. Anyway, it's like, oh, that's a sign. That's a sign. Okay, well, let me look into this. And so I started looking on YouTube, watching videos, learning about ibogaine. And if you take the time to go and learn about ibogaine, you will learn it's a very intense kind of plant medicine. This isn't something you're just going to kind of do for kicks and, whatever. It's a very drawn out process. It can be stressful in some ways. If you live in the United States, it's not legal, so you'll have to go outside of the country. It's going to cost you money and travel and, seemed like a big to-do. But that's what the sign said. The sign said ibogaine. So I read up on it. And immediately, my defenses were starting to go up. It seemed like too much work. It seemed like a very big commitment. And I was hesitant. And I felt like it was gonna work. I'm like, I think this thing's really gonna work. And it suddenly dawned on me that if it worked, my whole life was gonna change. And I wasn't gonna be the same person that I was, who was out partying and, wasn't perhaps the person that was the sober person. I was always known as kind of the party animal. And a part of me didn't want to commit to it because I didn't want to lose my social life, if I'm being quite honest with you. Didn't want to lose my social life. And so again, I kind of tossed it up there. Well, when it's time, I guess I'll know. Let me know. And then literally again, 2 days later, 48 hours later, there's a big blow up between me and my best friend. And suddenly the relationship ends entirely. And with it, an association of friends who are all the friends that I kind of hung out with and was the party girl with. It all just started to go away. And it was another sign. It's time to go. Time to get on the train. And it made it very clear to me, like, you don't have this excuse anymore. Go ahead and investigate. So I took that as a sign. Hey, you made an excuse of friends, and now all of a sudden the friends are just fading out of the picture really fast. This is a good time for you to go ahead and investigate this. This is a good time for you to go ahead and do this. Go ahead and just do it now. And as sad as it is to lose friends, sometimes that can be a sign that it's time to move on. And read that sign and went ahead and decided to go ahead and do that treatment. Now, the funny thing about this is I went to Mexico, I got the treatment. I made a video on that experience in a lot more detail, and I'll try to remember to link it up so you can watch that video if you'd like to see it. But the funny thing about that experience is I went and had this plant medicine experience, and it did exactly what it had promised to do. I came out of the experience and I no longer craved drugs, and I wasn't going through withdrawal at all. I also didn't want to drink alcohol, and it marked the beginning of me not drinking alcohol anymore. Beyond that, the experience itself was so profound, so amazing. I got so much insight. I learned so much. I grew so much from that experience that I look back on that experience as it wasn't even about me getting sober. It was so much, I got so much more out of it. I got so much more clarity and lessons that came my way. And I wanted to put that in there because when you follow the signs and when the universe kind of guides you, you may get to what you want, but you realize that it's actually leading you to something much, 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 much bigger than you actually thought you wanted. It's a really cool thing about learning how to follow your guidance is that you'll get an inkling about where you want to go. So for me, I wanted to get sober, and I asked the universe for help, and I followed the signs when it gave them to me, and it led me to the sobriety, but it led me to so much more. This is why it's so important for us to surrender our desires and be willing to listen to the guidance rather than try to figure it out yourself. Now, I've got another story for you on following the signs, a personal story about how following the signs got me somewhere I wanted to be. And also, I am going to be reopening my Signs from the Universe course pretty soon. And so if you would like to get updates on when that course is open for registration, I only open it up like twice a year. But if you'd like to get the updates when it comes available and a 25% off coupon, go ahead and look below in the description for a link on how you can get those. Thanks so much for watching my story here on Signs from the Universe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.